Welcome back to the Buds in the Box YouTube channel. Before we get started, I just want to let you guys know about the monthly giveaway that we're doing. So look in the description for the rest of the details, but all you have to do is like, subscribe, and comment which jersey you want, and you'll be entered for a chance to win. You can comment on all our videos from this day on, and we'll give you a chance every time you comment. So make sure you guys do that. It's definitely worth it. And we had a winner last video, and he DM'd us, and he's super excited. And now, without further ado, we have basically breaking news. So, as we know, last time we figured this out, kind of before the game, kind of after. It wasn't really told to us, but Frederick Anderson was injured last game and has no timeline for return. And we can now confirm that he is not playing the next game against Ottawa, and Jack Campbell will be the starter as long as he doesn't get injured. But he will be the starter for next game, and who knows, potentially even the rest of the season. Frederick Anderson has said that he has been battling through an injury. We don't know his timeline yet. He's decided to sit out and work on that injury. So I think a lot of Leafs fans will be happy to hear that Campbell is the starter and they're giving him time. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the injury, um, you know, kind of going off of, Anderson being injured, what kind of injury is it? No one knows. It says lower body, whatever. At this point, trade deadline's coming up. Um, as the general manager of the Maple Leafs, Kyle Dubas might be thinking, I wonder if I could put Anderson on long-term injured reserve, get 5 million in cap space, and hope that he can make a trade that's like worth something, and then maybe get Anderson back like another time. Or I don't know how the cap situation works when you get put on long-term injured reserve, but that's a whole nother topic for another day. That's just something that was kind of the first thing that came to my mind when you actually said, like, oh, we don't know how long he's going to be out, because we don't. So that could be interesting to see what happens with Anderson's injury and the status of his injury. But in terms of Jack Campbell versus Frederick Anderson, if it's up to me, um, I'm just like, if you asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have said, I feel more comfortable with Anderson in net. He's a good goalie, and I still think he's a good goalie, but I don't think I'd feel more comfortable with him in net. Um, right now, Campbell is showing that he not only can play in the NHL, but can stand out in the NHL, because he currently has 4 games played, 4 wins, 2 shutouts, and a 965 save percentage. So looking at all that, obviously 4 games doesn't determine someone's career or how good they are, whatever, because, Eric could play 4 good games in single A and be called the best player to ever live. But no, like, you can't determine someone off 4 games, but so far it looks much better than Anderson's looking. And if you ask me as a fan, I don't hold my breath when there's a point shot on Campbell. I don't get as scared when, there's a 2-on-1 and I see Campbell in that. I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of feel good about that. Like, he's a solid goalie. But when I see Anderson, I'm like, at this point, I'm like, oh no, this shocking, any shot can go in. I don't know. I get scared when he's in the net. So I want to see Campbell as the starter. Personally, I think this long-term injured reserve could have something to do with it. Um, but for me, I think Campbell should just be the starter for the rest of the year, unless there's a back-to-back. I mean, unless he really starts doing bad. Doesn't look like it right now. I obviously don't want to jinx it, but yeah.
All right, Jude, what are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Well, I mean, the LTIR, it like now that you brought that up, that does seem like a great idea. But um at the same time, as shaky and whatever you want to call Anderson's play right now, I I would take over Hutchinson. And if there's a back to back, we're not going to throw Campbell, who's been glass like this season, into that back to back game. And if Freddie's on the LTIR, where it's probably going to be Hutchinson, or maybe we call up an AHL goalie, something like that. But I don't know. That's weird down there. So I don't know. Like, I wouldn't mess with that or whatever Dubas is doing down there. There's a reason for it. But yeah, I mean, I have all the faith in Campbell. I've never, me personally, I think you guys both know, I've really never had Anderson's back at all for the 5 or 6 years or whatever. Um, I just personally, I've never liked his game. Like you guys were saying last night, um, his that robotic type. I don't know. He plays like like he can only stop most shots, and Campbell plays like there's a wall, and he's that wall in front of that net, right? And he'll do anything to maintain that wall. But in terms of the cap space and all that kind of stuff, that seems like a great plan for a big trade. But um, and I'm fine with rolling on not Hutch Campbell for the rest of the year. But in terms of the backup to Campbell in that situation, I don't know. You guys?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Steve Dangle confirmed that Anderson is out for next game, and a lot of Leafs fans were curious. Campbell's off to back-to-back shutouts, and Anderson is playing like really bad. So if you're Dubas, if you're Sheldon Keefe, what do you do in this situation? Well, the problem is solved. Campbell starts next game because Anderson has an injury. We don't really have anything on the injury, but that decision is made. And whether Anderson comes back as the backup or just sits out and, works on his injury, works on getting back, maybe for the playoffs, I'm guessing that Hutchinson's going to have to be that backup. But I still think that's better than having, I'd rather have Campbell as a starter and Hutch as the backup than Anderson as starter and Campbell as the backup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also if you're looking at it, like right now, if you're Keefe or or Dubas and you're setting a lineup for the game and you're deciding which goal you want to start, there's like I think that Campbell, even in the past like year or a bit, injuries or not, has been a little bit overlooked because Anderson's there and Anderson's got the big name status, the size. He's kind of like your typical NHL goalie that you feel comfortable with in the net.
And the
He doesn't
salary
take
too.
Yeah, and he doesn't take too many gambles. He's just like steady and he's good. He's not great. He's not amazing. He's good enough to keep the Leafs in games. He has been in the past year, but right now, even if Anderson wasn't injured as of like this moment, you got to be looking at it and going, just because this guy's been our starter for 3 years doesn't mean he has to start every game. That's not a back to back. Um, you know, Campbell's hot, and when a player's hot or a goalie's hot, you play them. If Matthews is getting 18 goals in 18 games, you put him on the first line, you put him on the first power play. He's going to be on it anyways. But you know what I mean. If Jimmy VC was on the Leafs and had 10 goals in 10 games, you're going to put him on the power play. You're going to put him out in situations where you can score. Same with a goalie. It's like when a goalie's hot and he's got four games played and 4 wins and 2 shutouts and a 965 save, blah blah blah. I don't care what team he was playing against. He had 4 good games that they won, games where he ended up with 4 games played and a 965 save percentage. He played well, meaning he's been hot. So if you're asking me, I think if you were to ask Keith, or any NHL coach with in the right mind, would probably, and you gave them just 2 sheets, one with Anderson statistics and one with Campbell statistics, but no names. Every single one of them is going to start Campbell.
Yeah.
So you got to think of it like that without thinking about the name or the status or the contract or their whatever. You just got to look at their game and their stats.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, I want to disclose that he's a human, right? Like, as much as we love Campbell, his play right now, it's the exact same thing with Binnington. That's a great example. A backup goal, not even a backup goal, an AHL goalie coming up, or an ECHL caliber goalie coming up, played insane, put up stats, similar to what Campbell's putting up now, and then they come back to earth eventually. You know what I mean? In terms of play. And right now, like I just mean in terms of Leafs fans, they won't really understand this this okay, for some reason I just blanked there. This
Concept.
exactly, thank you. This concept of that he's a human being, and they think that whole team is just cardboard cutouts of their favorite players. So, like in that sense, like I just want to tell Leaf fans that like things can go wrong. Like we will lose games if he's a starter in the next in this next stretch, right?
In the rest of the season
happen.
too.
Yeah,
Of course.
It's not like he's gonna
but
go undefeated.
in terms of that, like it just I just want to see him start. Like I just want to see the stats he's putting up now, and then match that to Freddie's GP and put his GP at the same. And I just love to see those stats because right now he's leading the league in everything pretty much.
Yeah.
Aside from Peter Mrazek, who hasn't played a game in 4 months or whatever, 2 months or whatever. So that's
Dude,
that.
I'm gonna be honest. I think you're gonna see it next season. Looking at the Leafs cap, looking at Hyman, and looking at Anderson, you can only sign one of them. You're gonna sign Hyman. It's a no-brainer. Hyman's gonna need $5 million next year. He just is. He's got 12 goals on the year or something, which is
Around there. Yeah.
absolutely insane right now.
Yeah.
For a third line player, technically, you know, he does play on the first line, but you know, I think they're signing Hyman to upwards of $5 million. You have to. You just do. Anderson, honestly, it's been fun. It's been a good ride. See you later. And Campbell, take the reins. We have trust in you. You know, Dubas is, you know, I don't see them picking up a goalie in free agency this year. With the money they've got, with the cap issues they have, it's sign Hyman and let Campbell be the starter.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how they're gonna, and then you re-sign all the guys that are on 1-year deals. You re-sign Simmons, you gotta re-sign Spezza if he wants to play hockey. Thornton's pretty replaceable right now. But if he's, you know, still spry enough to play, you know, you re-sign him and you get your 1-year guys back. By that time, you know, you got Hyman and you got all your 1-year guys back. Not space for a goalie. So Campbell, very well, I see him as a starter next year. I just do. This is all depending on his injuries. Like, it's tough because if he gets injured and you have Hutchinson as your starter for 4 weeks, there's no chance they're even going to make the playoffs. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. I want to add on to your point there with next year though, that like what you brought up, next year we're going to see that, like in terms of cap space and everything that's all everything that's involved. With that, we could pick up a good solid tandem backup goalie, you know what I mean? So like you said, Felly, and have him say Campbell how his injuries have played out this season, right? 4 games played for a easily, like his stats are easily starter stats, but for his injuries right now, and if we look at that for next year too, right now, a perfect goalie, like I don't know if you guys can throw out some names, like someone who'd be perfect for him. Like right now, Reimer is looking like that goalie for him, but
Cal Peterson.
I mean, listen, it all depends on what the goalie market looks like. Binnington got signed to $6 million. $6 million for 6 years. So, you know, looking at that, that's basically, he set the market for goalies now. So in the off season, you have to look at now, you know, that's how it works. You know, if a defenseman gets signed, the rest of the off season, that's how defensemen are going to get signed. So he basically just set that, the St. Louis Blues, $6 million for 6 years for Binnington. So then Anderson's got to go into the market going, am I a better goalie than this guy? I think I am. I'm going to ask for this. You know, is Anderson going to get $6 million? Probably not. Probably close to it. Honestly, you know, a team will definitely pay that. But you know, so that's the thing, right? Then you look at guys like that who are basically the top tier in this coming year, and then you got to look at the guys who are just below it. maybe Drieger. You could get him. I don't know if he's unrestricted or restricted or whatnot, but even if you trade for him, just have his rights and then pay him. But even a 1 year deal, 2 year deal, something like 1.52 million, he still has to, he still has to prove himself in the NHL. So a guy like that, I think, might be a good tandem goalie for Campbell. I think it's much scarier to have two goalies that are good than like one goalie who's great and a backup who's like meh, So like having Campbell and a guy like Drieger or like, someone like Merzlin, like I don't know Merzlin,
Yeah,
but
no,
like
you're giving
Corpusalo,
great examples.
something like that, right? That's to me, that's a much better situation because injuries, back to backs, all those things come into play, and having two goalies that you can count on is helpful. And then you can also play the one who's hotter,
Yeah.
right? You have that advantage too when you've got two goalies that you trust. And right now the Leafs do have two goalies that they can trust for sure, Campbell and Anderson.
Just one's hotter
it's just,
and one's not.
it's just one's hotter and one is not. So Campbell should be the starter until Anderson gets, has a couple of good games. Then you can look at it and go, Anderson's our guy right now, or for the playoffs we're gonna just go 50-50 or whoever's just playing better, right? So
Yeah, even like that's kind of what's happening. I think Anderson has come to a point where he agrees that Campbell is hot right now. Like I'm not helping my team out at all. I'm battling an injury. If I sit and rest, it will be beneficial to my team. We're going to win games now, and come playoffs, I'll be 100% healthy and ready to go and give it my best shot.
Wow.
So
yeah,
that's easy.
no one wants to hurt their team.
Mm-hmm.
If you're playing bad, you don't want to let your team down. Like, and he's trying his best every game. You know what? You can see it in his eyes when he lets in a goal that he doesn't want to let his team down. And I feel really bad, like, but everyone goes through slumps.
Yeah.
Everyone goes through like periods of their career that aren't so good, or like, they're not having the best, games of their career or the best month or week or whatever.
He's openly said that he's been battling through an injury this whole time.
Yeah,
that's why he's sitting out.
But that's also like what Felly just said. Like you can see it, and I personally don't think his injury is lower body whatsoever. I think that's all in his head. This injury is completely mental. This is his confidence. This is everything about his game, everything mentally on his game right now. And once he finds his game back, when he thinks he can stand in that net and stop every puck and believe he can, that's when he wins that net back.
I think the only time that's going to happen is next year on a different team with a different jersey on.
Yeah.
If you ask me,
knows? Maybe he'll
he needs to get
out.
Yeah. Listen, maybe, but I think he needs out for him to get back into a mindset where he can be a good goalie, go somewhere, fresh start, fresh faces, fresh media, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good place to end it there. So thank you guys for watching, and make sure you enter the giveaway. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment your opinion. And we'll see you guys next time. This has been Buds in the Box. Bye for now.